Okay, the reason for the exile is the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. B'mhira b'yamin amen. When the temple was destroyed, that began the Jewish exile. What does it mean, the Jewish exile? What does it mean they were exiled? We're not exiled. Everybody has a house, pretty much. All the Jewish people together for sure are not suffering. We're not all wandering around. Jews are wandering. Of course, there are individual Jews, the Jews that live in poverty. True, there are people, but not all the Jewish people. And we have possessions, and we're religious Jews. Go to the land of Israel. There's synagogues all over the place. In America, New York, there's synagogues and places of learning, yeshivot. People are doing mitzvahs. People are doing tshuva. What type of exile are we in? And why would just the destruction of this one house, the holy temple, cause the exile? If the Jewish identity is so frail that just destroying one house knocks the whole Jewish identity, it puts us into exile. What is this exile? So the answer is that we have absolutely no idea what the Holy Temple did. And the further away, that shows that we're in exile. The further and further away we get from the Holy Temple, the further we get from any sort of sensitivity to what a Jew is really supposed to be. It's like a thief, the first time he steals, so he feels bad. Then afterwards he steals, doesn't feel bad anymore. Then he just tries to get better and better at being a thief. He doesn't think about the other people. It loses its sensitivity. The same thing as we Jewish people, we've lost our sensitivity to what a Jew really is supposed to be, what God is supposed to be. What God is, and what the Torah is, what the commandments are. So we can do the commandments and the Torah and etc., but we've lost the whole sort of feeling of what it is. And now there's big seminars and big classes and big... It's almost like having seminars to teach you how important your eyes are, how important seeing is. What do you mean? We know. You see, what's the point? Right? And big seminars don't... I know everybody likes to do it, but don't take pencils and needles and stick them in your eyes. Okay, that's ridiculous. Well, that's what the Jews do. They do things to destroy their soul. Even worse. Jews do purposely things to destroy their own souls. They're totally insensitive to what it means, a Jewish soul. Totally insensitive. I'm no better than everybody else. I'm just saying that we're in exile. If you read one of the Maimorim of the Rebbes, you start to understand how a Jew is really supposed to feel God, and he's really supposed to have love and happiness, a tremendous joy just to serve God, whatever happens. We have that. We read about it in the books. It says that was caused by the destruction of the temple. The temple was a connection. It was a plug that connected the essence of God with the world. People would go to the temple 3 times a year. They would feel that they're being created. They would feel important.
So we destroy ourselves because the temple was destroyed.
Right. We don't know what we are. I'll give you an example, a terrible example. The Nazis. Right? The Nazis. I could get a Nazi that would stand in the concentration camps, and he would just kill people all day. Right? Someone stepped out of line, he would shoot them. Right? Somebody put in kids in gas chambers and just burn them and feel absolutely nothing. Come home, right? Take a shower, wash up, right? No feeling whatsoever. Let's just imagine a person like this. He comes home and he says to his wife, "Where is Fritzy today?" His wife says, "Listen, sit down, Hans. I want to tell you something." He says, what do you want to tell me? He says, "Fritzy, somehow or other, he got mixed up with these Jewish kids. He was playing with them, and they swept them all off the streets, and they took them to the gas chambers, and they killed him." He says, "What? They killed him? Maybe he's still alive. Maybe I'm going to run down." No. He's dead, 100% sure. Where did they take him? I'll run there. He says they took him to Auschwitz, whatever it is. Which part of Auschwitz? Crematorium number 5. That's my crematorium. I killed my own son. No! He starts crying. What's going on? The whole day was killing people, and he was burning people, and he was shooting people, and didn't feel anything. Nothing whatsoever. Right? Totally insensitive. Children were crying, mothers were pleading. Right? He has a job to do. Right? No problem. Huh? Like spraying ants, Nothing whatsoever. But he found out it was his own son. His own son. He killed his own son. The worst. They say that there was one of these guys that ran over his dog and he started crying. Right? He was killing people. What does it mean? The worst thing in the world is to lose sensitivity. You lose sensitivity, you lose your humanness. You lose your humanness. Because of this losing sensitivity, as you can do everything. You can be a religious person with a beard, with tzitzis, with tefillin and everything like that. And once you get hooked on money, you want money, pop, that's it. There's no good and there's no bad and there's no God. And some people, all of a sudden, they think they get, I don't want to go into but the worst thing in the world is to lose your sensitivity. You have no sensitivity. Maybe in a way we can say, even worse than that is not having any sensitivity in the beginning. Person not having any sensitivity. Well, the Holy Temple brought sensitivity to the world. It brought to the world the awareness, the feeling that God is really important, that God is creating us, that we are really important in God's eyes, that this world is really important, that everything that we do is really important. Without God, you start thinking about going to heaven, thinking about heaven and hell, and who's going to burn. When you feel Hashem, you feel how infinitely important every single moment of this world is.
Have we lost our sensitivity to the temple because it's been so long?
Immediately when it was destroyed, they started losing it. Immediately when the temple...
2,000 years later.
Now we're almost 2,000 years later, of course, right. But on the other hand, it says there's a lot of Maimorim of the Rebbe. We'll learn this one here. On the other hand, this generation has something that none of the other generations have, and that's what we call self-sacrifice. The feeling of selfishness has not changed since Adam, since the first man was created. You don't believe in Adam since Cro-Magnon man, or whatever it is, Piltdown man, whatever it was. 5 trillion years ago, whatever man was created, according to science, right? Egotism is the same exact egotism. Same exact egotism. Egotism has not changed one bit. The Torah, they say the Torah is old-fashioned. Now we have electricity, now we have cars, now we have this. It's true, but people are the same people. Anger is the same anger, and jealousy is the same jealousy, and hatred is the same hatred, and depression is the same depression. It's exactly the same thing as it was when man was created, first day. No difference whatsoever. That egotism that a person has, what do you do with it? What are you supposed to do with this egotism? If you feel that you're being created by God, and that your ego has an importance, very great importance to God, and that you should do what God says because He's your creator, and you really feel this, it makes you tremendously happy to do what God has want. Makes you happy. You have a purpose. You can never get fired from your job. You've got a job that no one else can replace you. But you can't be how do you say, obsolete. So you can never be, right? Everyone is important, every moment is important, and every interaction is important. Has cosmic, infinite importance. Everything does. As soon as the temple is gone, then that goes away. What's left? Egotism. Everybody has the different permutations, the different combinations of egotism. So it says nowadays the world is much more. How do you say Cain? In order to kill Hevel, so it says that he had to. Called Demei Achicha. It says he had to stab him in a lot of places and hit him. He didn't know where exactly how to kill a person. There were no books. Nobody had ever killed anybody before. So he had to kill him. So nowadays we're civilized. Nowadays we have planes and bombs, and we have better bombs. We have atomic bombs, nuclear bombs.
That's civilized.
Right, and that's civilized. Now you can just press a little button and you can kill 1 million people like that, no problem.
That's civilized.
Right?
Was like executing someone with a sword quickly.
What?
I thought civilized was like an execution, or I don't know. Something.
Civilization is supposed to be, I guess the word civil comes from, what does the word civil mean? I think the word civil means to be homogeneous with other people, to get along with other people. I don't know if the word homogeneous is the right word, but to get along with other people.
You're civilized.
You control more efficiently with a smaller carbon footprint.
Right. So now you just press a little button and that's it. You don't even have to worry about burying the people even. You know,
That much electricity?
it just buries, right. It just bombs them and then they just. So that's civilization. I guess you can call it civilization. I don't. When the Beit HaMikdash was in existence, you could go to a building. Don't pick it. You would go to a building. And you would feel from this building, hey, I'm a creation of God. I'm being created. I'm really important in God's eyes. Much more important in God's eyes than I can ever be in my own eyes. And God really wants my own good. Leave a person to his own, what do they call it? Leave a person to his own self, own devices. Oh, and you see what we get, right? You get Hitlers, you get people with using the atomic power wrongly, improperly, mass murder, making religions out of mass murder. The Holy Temple was a place that showed how important this physical world is, and how important the Jews are. Because the Jews are God's chosen people, were chosen by God to tell the whole entire world how much God loves them. How important every moment is. Without the Holy Temple, the Jews are confused.
Yeah, but see, the people don't want to know, or people don't care.
They don't care, they don't want to know, they don't think there's anything better. There's a terrible thing in the world called addiction. Generally speaking, people who are addicts, they don't think that there's any alternative. They don't think, at least for them. Right? A person is addicted to smoking. He's addicted to smoking. He's a smoker. Right? He wants to stop. It's killing him. The doctor says he has to stop. He makes patches and shots and treatments and everything like that. And he sees walking around in the streets thousands and thousands of people that aren't smoking, and they get along okay. But he can't learn from them. He can't learn. He thinks I'm different. For me, I got to have that cigarette. Or that drink, or that drug, or that whatever. When the Beit HaMikdash was gone, the world became unimportant. Selfishness reigned. The Bizman Beit HaMikdash Kayem, in the time when there was the Holy Temple, please look inside, page 120. In the time when the Beit HaMikdash existed, Hayu Yisrael, the Jewish people were b'maylo u'madreg elyona. The Jewish people were in a very high level. Shayagilei alukut ba'olam, because there was revealed godliness in the world. People felt that there's a God that's creating me and that loves me. V'hayu yocholim kol Yisrael, and all of the Jews were able l'kayem, to do et Torah v'mitzvot. Please look inside. Mitoch harchava, in a wide way, in a happy, easy way. When the temple was destroyed, Gala Yisrael, the Jewish people were exiled. V'nafla ateret tiferet Yisrael, and they fell the crown of glory of Israel. The Jewish people didn't know what they were doing. You have, I think, the best example in the world now. You have Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, right? You have the land of Israel. There's millions of people living in Israel, millions, and they have absolutely no idea why they're living here. Absolutely no idea. They're living here. It's a country of the Jews. You can make a living. You're among other Jews. You're this. All of a sudden, it starts to get a little hard, right? People, you got to go into the army regularly, and they're shooting missiles at you all the time. You have to run into this. The government doesn't do anything. They don't help you. The government is against you. All of a sudden, a person gets a good job. A friend of his went to California, and he made it. So he goes. So you have, who knows how many, hundreds of thousands of Israelis living outside of Israel. And the ones that are living inside of Israel, 90% of them have no idea why they're in the land of Israel. 99%, who knows? And they're in the land of Israel because it's a place, right? Ask the people, our law deciders in the Knesset, 120 members, to To give away land to the Arabs, no problem. Right? To have big marches, LGBT, no problem. Let everybody do what they want. Why are you in the land of Israel? It's supposed to be a holy land. Right? The Jewish people are the holy people. What are you talking about? Maybe you believe it. Maybe who knows who even believes a thing like this? The crown of glory of the Jewish people fell. Jewish people don't know. It's like the king's son. Right? The king's son. That he sees him in some bar or something, getting all drunk, getting into fights. One second, you're the crown prince, aren't you? It's not. Another round of drinks on me. The Sibas HaChorban, the reason of the destruction of the temple is Albona Shel Torah. Why was the temple destroyed? Because there was no honor given to the Torah. The Torah became like another book. The Torah was unimportant. Hine Omer Zal, the rabbis say, Viter HaKodesh Baruch Hu, God was willing to overlook the sins of Avodah Zorah, Gilei Arayot, and Shvichas Damim. God was willing to overlook the sins of idolatry. What do you call it? The Gilei Arayot is decadence, and Shvichas Damim, and murder. He was willing to overlook those things. Velo viter al ma'asa shel Torah, but he was not willing to overlook the disgrace of the Torah. L'cheora, says the Rebbe, ein zem muvan. It's not understood. What does it mean? God was willing to overlook these terrible sins. Murder, you know what murder is? Idolatry. Jews, he was willing to overlook those. Hein chamorot biyoter. These are the worst sins. It says a Jew is supposed to give his life not to worship an idol, not to kill another Jew, not to do a sexual crime. Give your life. Ma'asha of on the Bidl Torah, and the sin of not honoring the Torah, it's incomparable to them. You don't have to give your life in order to learn Torah. Somebody takes away your Torah books, says, I'll take away your Torah book or I'll kill you. Say, take away the book. What can I say? Hainu de be'inyan avoda, avera, I'm sorry, and the whole topic of sins, these sins are the worst sins of all. What are the three sins that are worth you have to give your life for?
Murder, idolatry, and I forgot what the other one is.
Sexual sins. A person is supposed to give his life not to do this. If someone gives you a gun and says, kill this other Jew, you're supposed to say, kill me instead. I'm not going to do it. I don't know about another human being. I mean, it would be the same. But according to the law of the Torah, you don't have to give your life for if they put a gun to your head and say, kill a non-Jew. You don't have to give your life. It's according to the Torah. There's a lot of laws of the Torah that are not understandable. That's among them. To do Gilei Arayos, right? Have relations with this lady that her husband ran away from her. When she was 15 years old, he married her, ran away from her. She's now 35 years old. Somebody puts a gun to your head and says, have relations with this lady. You're supposed to say, kill me. I'm not going to do it. That doesn't make any sense either, but it's at least, but to dishonor the Torah is worse than doing these sins. How can it be? Says the Rebbe, we'll see. Hainu, the be'inyan avera, these three things are the worst of all. Do you do it's known, a pirush, mitzvah, and avera. It's known. What does it mean, mitzvah? And what does it mean, avera? Have you ever heard this before? What's the word mitzvah mean? What do you say? Commandment, right? So the word mitzvah is the language, it means connection. Mitzvah comes from the word tzavta v'chibor. A mitzvah connects you, it's a commandment, connects you to the commander. Hainu she'al yedei a mitzvah, by means of the mitzvah, ha'adam mitchaber im atzmut or in sof baruch hu. A person joins with the essence of God, higher than any Kabbalah book can talk about, higher than any human being can understand, higher than even the angels can understand. When a Jew does a commandment, it connects him automatically to the essence of God. This is something totally beyond and even opposing human comprehension. You want to tell me that if you eat a hamburger, a hot dog, kosher hot dog, right, that it does nothing, and you just put these little boxes on your arm for 1 second, this connects you to the essence of God. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. The hot dog is kosher, and the bread that I eat is kosher, and I made a bracha before it, and a bracha afterward. That's connecting. And you put a box on your arm. No, that's connecting. Why? Because God did not tell you to eat a hot dog, and God did tell you to put these boxes on your arm. That's the whole point. This is a commandment from the essence of the creator of the universe. For instance, a simple person, asher ish hamoni, a simple person, one of the crowd. Hari ein lo shum yachas el hamelech. He has no connection to the king. See, first word in line is gadol. He has no connection to a big king. Ram v'nisa sits in his palace, decides monumental things. He's deciding to make a city, to build a city, to make a war, to build a bridge, a river. And this person is sitting in his house, and what's he deciding, right? What's he deciding? Should I wake up at another 5 minutes? Should I sleep another 5 minutes? Shouldn't I sleep another? That's the most important decision that he makes in the whole day. Right? Should I make two sandwiches, tuna sandwich today, or should I make peanut butter and jam? What did I have yesterday? This is what he thinks. The king is thinking, right? Should I make war against, Indonesia, or shouldn't I make these monumental things that affect tens of millions of people? The king has no connection with this simple man. He could be one of the millions that he just sends off to war. O chacham nale, or for instance, a person, a genius, shu muflag b'chachma, that he's tremendously genius person, writes books, everybody knows this is the... Eino me'arkam klal, this simple person is not compared to them at all. V'kasher ha-melech ha-gadol, and when this big king, or a chacham, or the wise man, yotzei yitzaveh, commands, le'ish halazeh lasot eze davar, to do something, as then she yazhiren, or he warns him not to do a certain thing. Hine yatzivoy halazeh ma'ached u'mechaber, this commandment that the great king gives to this simple, ordinary peasant, peon, walking around in the streets. The king comes and he says, what is your name? Says, oh, your majesty, my name is Stanislaus. Says, Stanislaus, do me a favor. I dropped my pen over there. Would you pick up my pen? Right, give it to me. Oh, picked up the king's pen. This is the most amazing thing. The king says, thank you very much. He flips him a coin. Right? Stanislaus says, you know who gave me this coin? The king. If everybody hates the king, so I'll spend the coin. If everybody likes the king himself gave it. In England, there's this thing about seeing the queen. You know this? In England. Not everybody sees the queen. Now the queen in England, she's a nice lady. She's got nothing to do, but she has no real particular power or anything. You see the queen, it's a big deal. I see the queen. In America now, also probably in other places also, they have rock and roll stars, right? A rock and roll star. He touched me. He shook my hand, right? There's little girls. Oh, he shook my hand. I'm never going to wash my hand again. He shook my hand. Some of them, they have them sign their name on their arm. Right? So never wash the arm. Oh, this is the most precious thing in the world. What's so precious about it? This is an important person. He has millions of people looking at him. And who am I? I'm one of the people that look. I'm a nothing. And this person that millions of people he sold, you know how many records he sold last year? 25 billion records. And this man, you know how many records I sold last night? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. Nobody looks at me. Nobody cares about me. He has to have guards around him and everything. And he touched my hand. What? Yeah, sure. The most incredible thing. This is how much more so if he tells me to do something. I did a favor for him. I did him a favor. Did you see? Oh yeah, we have it captured on YouTube. On the Facebook, whatever it is. It's captured. There it is. A simple person, a nobody, actually did a favor for the king. Oh, he's so happy. Nowadays it's a little bit hard to say because there's no real great people. There's no kings. Once there used to be a king. People used to really respect them. But we have, like I said, the same thing we have today. I don't know if there exists such a thing anymore, but a simple person, when he's commanded by an important person, suddenly that simple person becomes important. How much more so if the King of the universe commands us to do something? And he's commanding us, not just he commanded us 3,000 years ago when we got the Torah. He's commanding us every single instant. That's what a commandment is. This commandment unites Ma'ached u'Machaberet Isha Pashut Alazeh with the king, Haram, which is so high, or Chacham Mufla, or the great wise man. Hainu, namely, okay, Herschel. Hainu, namely, Tilavad Zot. See where we are? First word in line is Haram. 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 There it is. Haram. O Chacham Mufla, or the great wise man, is connected to the simple person. Hainu. Tilavad Zot, not only that. Ma She. Bitzivui, in this commandment, Hari Yesh Mitzvah Nase Hari HaMitzvah, the commandment Nase Metziut Davar Chashuv. Suddenly the simple person, he becomes very, very important. Hari Kodem Shamelech or Chacham Tzivui, before he was commanded by this king. The king commanded Ezer Davar Lasoto, or his hero, or he warned him not to do a certain thing. Hari mitzvah einu b'metziut kolal, there was no commandment at all. Legabe romamuto shel hamelech, regarding the highness of the king. Ulegabe malaso shel hacham, or in regard to this tremendous wise man. But as soon as the wise man or this king sees this simple person, umetzavelo, and he commands him to do something, this commandment, Kufa mithaveh mitziuto, this creates this person. This person was a nobody. He was one of 100 million. And suddenly the king commands him to do something. This person suddenly becomes real. Important. You with me? Understand? The king suddenly makes this person into being real. That's what people felt when they went to the Holy Temple. They went to the Holy Temple, they felt the king, and they felt that the king cares about them. Hine odzot, not only that, ta'al yedei tzivu zeh, by means of this commandment, nase lemetziut chashuv, he becomes important. The first word in line is chashuv. It is 8 lines from the bottom of the page. Asher hamelech v'achacham yetzaveh alav lasot davar, the king commanded me to do something. I'm important in the king's eyes. This commandment of the king, or this wise man, this enlivens this person mamish. This really enlivens him. His whole life he goes through, and there's this picture on his wall. He has the king commanding him to do something. Commotion nira b'muchash, like we can see clearly, the tamurat zeh asher barooto et hamelech, that in the place of him seeing the king, or the wise man, Hari mitbatel mikol mitziyuto, he is negated totally, migodel apachat, from the tremendous fear, for otzam abitel, and this amazing surrender that he has for the king himself. It used to be what people weren't prepared to do for the king. The king, it was incredible. I mean, really, it was really incredible. You know, the king of England, he commands, okay, we're going to go on a crusade. Everybody goes, and the priest says, you're going to go to heaven. All of a sudden, they have 30,000 men, or whatever the men they went, and they go and they just kill anybody on the way. Right? And they get killed also, and this is the enemy, and this is the, all of a sudden, some guy decides, this is the enemy. They didn't do anything to them. They're holding on to the Holy Land, whatever. We have to take it away from them. Nobody attacked them. Nobody did anything bad to them. They're on the other side of the world. They don't know what's going on over there. And they go on the attack. Why? Because the king said. The king said, right? The king commanded me. I'm on a mission from the king. V'charada misaleket et adamim. Fear makes the blood go away. The azil sumka ve'asi chavira. There goes away all the redness and it becomes white. When the king comes along, everybody, they're almost fainting. Ve'en bo koach la'amod al raglav kalal. he hasn't got power to even to stand on his feet. The king comes, the fear that goes into a person. There's a story that what is it that I think that Tzemach Tzedek told. Said that the simple private in the Russian army, and when the captain comes in, when the sergeant comes in, the simple private has fear. When the colonel comes in, the sergeant has fear. When the general comes in, the colonel has fear. When the minister of war comes in, the general is afraid. When the prince comes in, then the minister of war is afraid. When the king comes in, then even the minister of the highest minister, even the prince is afraid. Well, imagine how afraid the simple private is when the king himself comes. The person was telling the story says, imagine when he said that, he himself fainted. He himself, just the thought, right? The thought of the sergeant coming in, the thought of the king himself came in, the person fainted. When the king commands him to do something, suddenly he gets full of life. And now he's happy. He becomes existing. He doesn't want to eat or sleep or drink. The king commanded me. Of course I'm going to do it. This shows on the opposite of fear. When the king comes in, the king doesn't command him, he's nothing. And the king suddenly commands him, suddenly becomes alive. Right? The king says, I want you, Stanislaus, paint that wall red. Yes, your majesty, the man one. Especially when the person doing this, Stanislaus, the king says, and I'm going to come back in a week and I'm going to see. I want to see this wall done and it's going to give me a tremendous amount of pleasure. Oh, this, so happy. The king, he's actually giving something to the king. Then he's really connected to the king. The king chose me to paint this wall. It's important to the king. The king is going to like it. I'm going to make the king feel good. This whole example that I just gave, now we can understand what the commandments are. What are the commandments? You have to use your brain, though, to think about it. All of the commandments, they come not from a physical king. If a physical king would command you, you would be very happy. If there was such a thing in today's day as a physical king. But all of the mitzvahs we have now are not just from a regular king. It comes from the essence of God. The essence of God. Think about this. The essence, or Ein Sof, Ram Venisa, elevated and high, Kulu Kameh, everything in front of God is like nothing. The Adam Lamata, and a person below, Hagam Denishmasu Chilik Elokal Mimal Mamish, even though that his soul of every single Jew is a part of God, but Hariu Be'ein Arach, it is completely incomparable to the essence of Or Ein Sof. True, I'm a portion of God, but it's nothing compared to the essence of Hashem himself. He created the soul. A davar, I'm moving the call, so it's understood to everybody. If you just use your mind and think for 1 second, what do you think? Is this really true, what the Rebbe is saying? Maybe he's just saying this, it's like sort of poetry or prose or something. You know, it's sort of like... But if you think, is this really true? This is really true. God is really creating me. And even more, He's creating me in order to do these commandments. And it gives Him pleasure. The essence of God is creating. I can't create anything. God is creating all the angels. He's creating everything. And that's just the lowest aspect of God. And God, in all of His splendor and His glory, He gets happy when I do a commandment. Huh? The davar is a move on the call. That this is understood to everyone. The yoter misha'en arocha ish hamoni lamelech. That much greater than the distance between a simple person and the king, or l'chacham, or to a simple person and a wise man, who ein aroch lenivra legabi abora. It is incomparable, the creator to the creation to the creator. A king doesn't create you. God is really creating me. The person has to sit down and think. That's what prayer is for in the morning. Before you pray, you sit down and think, is really God creating me? There's really God that's creating me? I'm really nothing, and God is creating me every second? Is this really true? Right? Normal person would say, no way. We so much feel ourselves. That's how we began the class. It's so obvious to everybody that I exist. I exist. Everybody feels themselves. God exists? What are you talking about? God creates, nothing creates me. Nothing creates me. I don't depend on anyone. Here I am. That's the normal feeling that everybody has. I'd have to think about myself. I have to think, start thinking about God. Oh, when's the next meal? Yeah, maybe I have something in my cellar. Thinking about God. Oh, yeah, remember this person did something. Thinking about himself. I. If a big king would come into the room, right? A great man would come into the room, you'd stop thinking about yourself. Well, the fact is that God is right there with you. You're doing a mitzvah, you're connecting to the essence of God. But it's not a normal thought. Why is it not a normal thought? Because we have no temple. We have no temple, and where is God? Who knows? Who knows if there is such a thing? When a person thinks about this, then Mitzvot Omer Azal says, Nachat Ruach Lefanai. It is a pleasure in front of me, She'amarti v'naseh ratzoni, that I spoke and my will was done. The Kiyum Mitzvah is Nachat Ruach, that doing the commandments gives pleasure, kiviyachol, so to speak, Lefanav, before God. Yisparech. Now when you do a commandment, you put on tefillin, whatever you do, give charity, praying is a commandment, you should think, I am actually giving pleasure to God. And that's the difference between this world and heaven, going to heaven. You go to heaven, you get pleasure. But in this world, you actually give pleasure to the creator of the universe. There's no greater happiness than that. There's no greater depression than being selfish. Selfishness is the cause of all depression. Giving to others, especially giving to someone really important that really cares, that makes you happy. You're not thinking about yourself. And here we're talking about giving pleasure to the creator of the universe. Very basic principle of Chabad, of Chassidut in general. That is the source of happiness. If you don't have this, you're never going to really be happy. It's going to be happiness that depends on something. Depends on being with your friends, depends on doing what everybody else does, depends on... Here we're saying you are making God happy. That you can do, God forbid, even a person that's in Auschwitz, that he knows that if he believes in God, no matter what, it's making God happy. He's believing, it's a commandment to believe in God. To believe in God and all this terrible stuff going around, he's doing a commandment. That commandment itself makes him happy. He's giving nachas ruach to Hashem. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow.